Welcome back to Wednesdays with Wilfred. This week we have a special guest, a two-time alumna who studied veterinary studies and is now a renowned author. Thank you so much for joining us today, Kelly. And let's dive into how you studied veterinary studies, decides to be a writer and finds so much success.
My present career as an author is kind of labeled under the things you never thought you'd do with your life category. I graduated from the Faculty of Agriculture and Animal Science. And my background is veterinary physiology and endocrinology. And after that, I went on to work as a research scientist in agriculture in the hog industry for quite a number of years. And it was awesome. I loved that job. I loved the people I worked with. It was exciting. You got to design trials. You got to do the statistical analysis. It was like start to finish. And it was fantastic. When I had my first child, I left the industry temporarily, I thought, at the time, and had a lot of extra time on my hands. I had a very happy, sleepy baby and started writing. I've always enjoyed writing. It was just kind of something I enjoyed doing. I enjoyed reading and that sort of thing. I thought, I've got time. I should write my own book. So I did. And it was like appalling, terrible, horrible. It will never see the light of day again. And then I wrote 4 more and I thought, I wonder if it's not terrible anymore, but it's hard to tell. So you can't ask your mom and you can't really ask your friends because they are kind people. So I submitted the first 50 pages of that book into a writing contest. And that's how I kind of got my foot in the door for the industry. My agent that I currently have, one of her colleagues actually was the judge for the writing contest, and she said, this is pretty good. I really like it. She said, can you send me the rest of the book? And I was like, yes, of course I can, as I trip over myself to get to the post office at the time. And she said, yeah, this is great. She got back to me. She said, do you think you could write me something that I could actually sell now? And so I listened to her advice, what the market was looking for, and I wrote that book, and I'm still with her 15 books later.
Wow, 15 books. And the process of writing for you, is it real world influences? Is it kind of a mix of your life story with some fiction put into? What's your process for writing some of these books?
Everything goes into these books, things that you've read, things that you've seen, people that you've met, those little memes where you see like, don't piss an author off because you're going to end up in it happens. But for me, because I write historical fiction, historical romance, most of my inspiration comes from history itself. And specifically for me, I love writing about the women who were pioneers, in the past, the women who made it possible for me to do 2 degrees in science without even thinking about that. Of course I'm going to do science. I love science. Why wouldn't I do science? So going back into the history books where that wasn't an option many, many years ago, that path to get to where I am really, really is kind of what I'm passionate about.
And you're breaking down all those barriers, because I'm sure agriculture, or the Faculty of Agriculture, for a very long time was very male dominated. It must be amazing for the young women and girls and everyone else who's reading your pieces to be motivated and apply that in their own life. In doing this, you said your family is very kind and supportive, so you didn't submit the book or ask them for their feedback. How has been that ascension to becoming a very successful author?
The idea of writing a book is for people to read it. So your aim is always as global as possible. But certainly the support for local communities of local authors, whether it's McNally or the Free Press or just your friends and family, it's been absolutely fabulous. Being a writer, you need to have a thick skin, of course. I played on the Bison volleyball team during my first degree. So that kind of, I think, being a competitive athlete from the time you were young was a good primer for this career. You have a lot of people yelling and screaming at you, but they're yelling and screaming at you because they want you to do better. They're trying to help you. They're trying to make you be your best. So it's the same with writing. When I hand in a book to my editor, I hand in a book even to readers. They're trying to make it better always. So it's you can't take anything personally. You just take the constructive and hopefully apply it and hopefully learn and hopefully get better as you go.
That's fantastic. And as a former Bison athlete as well, go Bisons. It is very interesting when you can take your sport performance and apply it into your real world professional world, because you do have a lot thicker skin, because you understand that you want to be better, and sometimes to be better means you have to either work hard at practice or go through the trials and tribulations. Your new book, Paris Apartment, has been receiving a lot of amazing feedback, and McNally Robinson has featured it. And can you talk a little bit about what this new book is about and what you're most excited for readers to get into?
So I've had this book kind of rattling around in my head for a long time. My grandfather both my grandfathers served in the war. And I always thought it was interesting that they never spoke of it when they came back, ever. So I decided to kind of delve a little bit into that conflict. That war, that period of time fascinates me, and pair that also with my love of the stories of strong women that do not get enough attention, right? You hear all these fabulous stories about the Churchills and the General Pattons and Ian Fleming and all of these guys, and the women just seem to disappear in the narrative. That's changing slowly, and I'm hopefully be part of that change. So this book, I'll try to sum it up without giving away the plot, is about a young professional in present day who inherits a Paris apartment from her grandmother, based on a real apartment that was left abandoned in Paris for 70 years. So that kind of gave me the inspiration for that. And in the apartment, she finds a huge treasure trove of art. And the clues in the apartment make her think that this art was probably stolen by the Nazis at some point in time. And so as she goes through her initial suspicions that her grandmother might have been a collaborator, she starts to find clues, and it's a dual narrative, the book. So you get a look at the past and you get a look at the present. And what she finds ultimately is a very unlikely friendship between two women who have two very divergent approaches to the war, but end up working together.
That's absolutely exciting, and I've never thought of myself as a historical fiction fan, but in hearing that mini synopsis, it sounds like an exciting book. And once again, Kelly, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day. We're so proud of you. We're wishing you even more success. And on behalf of the University of Manitoba Alumni Relations team, thank you so much. And we can't wait till you produce one of your books on Netflix, because
you and me both.
I'm sure it's coming. They're looking for amazing stories like yours. So we'll hope, and we're here to support that as well.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.